So we're on the bottom of page Kufnun test. After we spoke about the Arich of the two madrigas and the Maki, the two madrigas and the Helam Sheit Shmitzis, Helam Sheit Shmitzis, the two Mishalim, one from the Ish B'Shalev Shul Yacheles, the other from Kayach HaMaskil Ilyatzmi. So he goes back to it goes back to explaining these two madrigas in another Naremes and another Chazal. The last line of page Kufnun test. So in Mem V'Samach, that the Gemara says Mem V'Samach Shabeluchas V'Nesayim, because the middle of the letter doesn't have something to hold, so that didn't fall out as a miracle. The Chassidus explains, really it talks about madrigas and Gilui Likus. Mem and Samach are both. What are like one is a square, one is a circle, but on the inside is surrounded. Mem stuma, both of them are. So mem stuma is also considered makif because it surrounds the inside of the letter. But mem stuma, if I say sashas, I'll go bottom. Mem stuma, a schloss mem is sashas chinas. That's why it's square. In Sama, now top of page Kuf Sama. In Sama, Uprinas Makib the Chayza China Chayza Partnings. Other of Nasela Mahala Matsmosik Mukasmak Bach. So this to Madrigas, remember, it's Marum also remember Sama. So that's the meaning of Kaleskap, start called Gutripulichu, that he called Gutripulichu the Madrigas of Sama. Smaker the Chayza Sheina Chayza Klab Pnimis. There is I go to Brief Shmer, Salmat, Shmol, the Gamma, they discover, they discover Sitacha, Prince Birach. This Madrig of his called Good which is the summer of the market the Chayza, that is still the Birach. But at that Sarach Lovin. So we took care of the Lashon Kaliskaf Sitacha, start called to Shabrich. Then he's going to go. We're going to go to explain another part of that Maimar there. So
the Kitzur of the Istalik is the Kitzur.
Istalik means the Gilui of the Makif Shalamala Pnimi. That's the meaning of Istalik called. That the Gilui of that level in Makif, which is the Mailam Pnimi. Makif Shalamala Meshachas al Pnimi.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to the next line in Zaya, the next word. What's Bachula Olmin Daf? By Olmin. What is the meaning of the word Olmin? And you know, the Zaya, so we go back to Pasach Eliyah. It says in Pasach Eliyah, and that because it said, Asar Tikunim, you are the one who produced this 10 Tikunim. Is they are called as the line what is the purpose of 10 spheres? To rule the Olmi. The Anoga Sa'ilam is the Esel spheres, that's it. The ruling, the Anoga Sa'ilam is the entire managing, so to speak, of the elements is to the Esel spheres, that's it. The Kaidim was before that. We say in Pasach Eliyah, Anta Chadalo Chujban, Anta Ilal Kaliloy, let's not show this Machla. The Eivish himself is Had Love Chujban. You're one, and there's no without a number. Until let's not show this Machla. Bush Medaber, and Savis of Shudabs and so. So that Anta Chadalo Chujban is the artist of Shittas. That's unity and an abstraction. It's big wolf. It's because of that. The result of the Gili, of the expression of the Eivish's unity and abstraction, the world should have been without any measure, without any limit, without any border. How did it happen? It was the creation of limited. The Oma and the figure Satikunim does the Sasfil and Hogabino. So there's a sphere Shemkas Gvul. the spheres have a limit, mitzvah esel dafka 10, and also we get the miyachad mitzvah chesed. Not just a number; it's also a definition. Each one of the spheres has its own definition and quality. Chacham and chesed. Sabbath as spheres, how did spheres created? How is it possible to create spheres from the itself? Sabbath spheres. They are tzimtzum shabbat both. The creation of the spheres itself is a result of the tzimtzum. The in that tzimtzum, a lot of spheres saying something big. This spheres going to be small, but esadaf. So the tzimtzum allowed tzimtzum that concealed the infinity of the Eibishter, that allowed. Not just allowed, that created the 10 spheres that are limited. And then the Shtashas Madrega Madrega and Sabbath get them Yod. I'm Shkota B'Dam Shabbat Sanam. So that we learned also in the Ma'amar before, the whole marshal of the Elon, remember the Elon from the Garin, that there's a descent, a gradual descent, the Shtashas of one Madrega to the low, Madrega to the low, Madrega, till we have defined levels of spheres. So the spheres obviously are better. They're not on the same level as the ends of itself. So and it says of itself is above together the definition and the existence of sphere. That less like I said before. There's no machshava can capture it, can grasp it. Because there was no in the level of itself, there's no chachma and machshava physical itself. Machshava, which is chachma, cannot grasp. Not only that, so he brings in an expression that says sometimes in Kabbalah. The Ein Ha'arich and Bein Atzilus is less than the Ein Ha'arich of Atzilus Gabe himself. Now, Atzilus he's going to talk later about Bein Atzilus, but the Yachas of Bein Atzilus is a Likus, Bein is Nivoim. It's also Shalei Be'er, but both of them are, but Atzilus is still limited. The Ein Ha'arich of Atzilus Gabe himself is even more than the Ein Ha'arich of Bein Gabe Atzilus. Whereas it says that Remela. Okay, so that's the creation of that's a sphere that still the tzimtzum. The male is a sphere that still yes, it's like bola and it's makal biyah. Because that silus is limited and defined, so they can be the source for elements biyah for our system of existence. Again, that is makal biyah. Silus is separated biyah. We can't get from shachas to be at least for the makal. So again, that silus has this sort of paradox. The two opposites. It's stuck moved on biyah, but it's a makal. It brings one way to explain these two opposite qualities of Atzilus, that it's moved and at the same time it's a marker. So he brings a dugum, and it's maybe I don't know if it comes with explanation, but it's an example. The Atzilus are there much like you say the Eish. Shemudom at Gimel say this. Compare the four elements. See it to the four elements: fire, air, water, and earth. So the element of fire moved them again. Say this. There's a certain quality in the element of fire which makes it separate from the rest of the three elements. The rest of the elements exist where they are. They stay in their location. Mashenken, fire goes up. If you look at the flame of fire, it's constantly wants to go up, which means, like without ever saying tiny paper test, which means the fire really wants to leave its existence. It wants to disappear. So Aish has a unique quality, which is different than the rest of the three elements. And Atzilus is compared to Aish, the pasuk says that pasuk signifies the concept that Elam Atzilus is compared to Aish. So what about Aish? I say the Aish, the sense. So we see in the Seder Aish the same similar similar paradox that he was describing Atzilus. What did he say about Atzilus? On the one hand, it's moved over the on the Mocha land. So something Aish, his stock is separate from the other three. We call Mokoim. How to say this? He's part of the system of the four elements. And that way, Aish is connected to the other elements. So, it's like, I don't know if we can call it an explanation because it doesn't explain how it operates in Aish, but it's a dogma, it's an example for something that we can have a better we can relate a little better than obviously than Atzilus and the which is called solutions the elements. And in our world also we have that similar situation with the four elements. It's a similar the way with Aish. It's similar to Atzilus. I know what yes, just like they say the Aish is out, they say this. Similar to that Atzilus that Shach the Yach when he brings another example, another line in Pasuk Eliyahu, which makes this point how the spheres of Atzilus are connected to Biyah. What does it say there? Calls sphere is the Sheni. Each sphere has a known name. Not only that, but in the scale Malachaya. It's a name that in the law world, the Malachim also called by these names. But you, the Abish, the himself, doesn't have a Sheni. What Pshat? What is a name? A name is something that describes and defines the object that it names. For example, Chachma means it defines what is the sphere. It's a Chachma.
Means it limits it.
What? Okay.
No, correct. I'm saying that's what it
comes
down to, no?
Okay, yeah. Whereas the spheres have some Shem, some Tarim. So that the spheres have names that describe them, limit them. When you go in Malachim, it's not so limited that even the Malachim, which are much lower level, the spheres also have names of the spheres. Avalat, less Hashem. Schenken the Ada himself, the Lois, Shem Lois. That's an expression in Zoya. The Lois that means I am who I am. I can't be expressed and not even alluded to even in any name, even in any letter. So that's what the fathers, the Ramak and the Sefer, fathers remaining in Sharatos and Kelim, Atzmis and Kelim. Over there, he describes, he explains Pshat in the Pasuk Eliyahu, like we just said. So this is what's happening with the spheres. Spheres is a level, like we just to repeat what you said now. That spheres have two aspects of them. So on one hand, they're like Aish, removed from Biyah, but at the same time, they have some kind of Yachas. So that explains when it says earlier in the Pasuk Eliyahu we just mentioned. After that, the Fikas Asatikun, the purpose of the function of the spheres is to rule and manage, so to speak, the owner. That's as a sphere. So that is one aspect of spheres. That's it. That their functions are not going on. And the other hand, I have spheres of Lashon Be'eres. One of the portions of spheres is we just learned in the Pashas Emay, spheres, spheres, Lashon Be'eres. Spheres means brightness. Spheres, Lashon Evan Sapir. So to me, what does it mean to us? The spheres really don't hide the oil because they are Be'eres, they are bright. Shemeir and Gilad itself, you get so the spheres have two functions. They're Yachas to themselves, they're more limited, but still their functions to express the Gilad themselves. However, all means says the spheres, and that's not going only. What is only? Only plus element. I think the olam is that the spheres create. That is already a state of concealment, the opposite of behirus, the opposite of brightness. The olam lashon helen, like you know that olam. The word olam is also lashon helen. Like it's a famous expression of Chassidus, and the first source for that is the Rashi in Rashi in Pashas Shmois. Rebbe told to Moshe, "Koi semer bnei Yisrael, yesh lachan alechem, zeh shmi la'olam, v'zeh zicher l'dor v'dor." So Rashi la'olam, zeh shmi la'olam. So Rashi says la'olam halimei. The olam is lashon helen. I know what does it mean. They say they have passing of section like this. The creation of the world, or the world of Elam's Biyah, is to a special curtain that separates between the Tzilas and Biyah. Because we got the Mayafa Pamar Ben Olim, and we got the Torah in the Maim Mayafa Pamar Ben Olim. We learned something similar in one of the Maimon that the Olim should represent this concept of hell, of a path. Zeo, and where do we see that in the world? That's why the olam is, even the olam is rochnim as a concept of space. Kanoidam inyan olam shana nefesh. Sefer Tzir says the entire system of creation is made up of the three levels of olam, shana, and nefesh. So olam is makkah, and shana is man. So olam means makkah. Shoag bala the shishat tzotz, which is the limit of the sixth side. Any physical object has six sides to it. 4 sides, Mizrach, Ma'ariv, Dor, Mitzofen, and Ma'ila Mata. So the 4 sides for every object. So that's Mokum. That's the Akbala of Mokum. So this Akbala of Mokum, that is Olam. Atzilus lo yesh in Mokum Zman. In the world of Atzilus, again, we're not talking about only physical space, because it talks about Olam as Biyah. Biyah is not a physical world. It's a little. You have to keep in mind that he's talking also about something called the spiritual space. In that group, there is a difference between Atzilus and Biyah. And Atzilus, even the spiritual, is not really a defined space. Biyachas to Biyah, Shenken Elam HaBriyah, Yevet. I know. Atzilus lo yesh in Mokum Zman. There's a man in Mokum HaChodosh, Shach Marag B'Biyah. The concept of Zman Mokum, space and time and space. Space means that each madriga has its own location, it's its own place where it cannot go out of, it's limited by that space, cannot expand itself, that's what it is. So in that way, you can say that in the Elam's Biyah, the Ruchnistic madriga is always Biyah, the Mokum Ruchni. Truth is for us to understand the difference in the Mokum and Biyah and Atzilus. I don't know if it's not
right. L'chora Atzilus also has different levels.
Exactly. So
Milo Mata defines Mokum.
Exactly.
Like you said.
Yeah. So to say that I can explain the difference, it's not so simple to explain what but it is. It's like saying there isn't Ruchnis no Likus. To ask that, but Afshata. In Afshata Gufa, there's Ruchnius, the Ruchni. In Atzilus, the space. There's also here it says that Atchas Macham is man by Atzilus. Sometimes it says that Atzilus is the shiur Shazman. It's a more subtle way. I don't know if I can think of a mashal to explain it. The standard mashal of Eda Mokum is that we say a Svara Sichvis is not Mugbal and Mokum, right? You can say that the Svara of 2 + 2 = 4 is in New York or in California. It's in a location. It's not something that's location based. It's a concept. It doesn't have any location, right? On the other hand, you can also say that the Svara really exists within the svor exists within the mind of people who think about it. The place where the svor is not, you can find levels. I'm saying, trying to find where do we see. In other words, there is a madrega, there is a place where that svor it doesn't really exist there. You can say that in this location 2 + 2 is not 4. You can say that, but you can't say that it's there. In the mind, it's there. So it's different levels of expression. But it's not a good mashal. Just show, the only thing it's a mashal is to show that in the Ruchnius Gufat, some madregas are mokim, they really limit, they really mugdo. Some that's the way it says biyah. Hashem Atzilus doesn't have that definition, because Atzilus is pure elikus. So even though you have all this madregas, it's a different way to look at it. But I don't have a good marshal to describe that. Oh, okay, so we finished. Okay, so we finished. We had a whole lot. Don't forget. So we started. We started in page. Earlier in page. Kufnun Zion. It says like this. He started saying, so loving money in the holes. So we started the Maimah with the Emek HaMelech, the Emek HaMelech brings from Zoya, that the Biyah Zayin Echolis, Mashenk and Atzilus, you have spirits. So in the middle of page Kufnun Zion, he asked the question, so loving money in the holes. He started, Yesh La'agdi, what he said with Zoya, started on Shemar, but Kula Olmi. So until now, the last 4 pages, he elaborated that shot and that shtickle Zoya, he started now it came back full circle. Now we explain what does all mean. There's fears and there's oilomis. There's zero gamping in the cholish now. It's coming back to the original concept that he's discussing here, which is what is the Echolis? The Omen we're talking about now, these are the Echolis. So what he's going to go into developing what's the meaning of a Heichel. The Heichel itself is a concept that has a few aspects to it. Hine Kamal da Marshal Heichel Agash. Heichel, I'm going to call it Heichel. Heichel will translate as a whole. A whole palace, maybe a whole. So what is a Eichel Gashmi Shvag Bola? It has a limit. Shisha Tzog, that's 7. Like I said, it's 6, not 7. 6 sides. Milo Mata, top and bottom, Medaladoshis. And 4 sides, the east, west, north, and south. The area Vinyonai. What is the function of the Eichel? So he says almost two opposite things that the Eichel does. Number one, Number one is the function of the Eichel is to hide what's within it. And the person is outside, everybody sees it. When he sits, when he lives within the room, the palace, he's hidden. Cannot see, nobody can see him. He has his own place. The Tiferet Adam Hashavas boys, it's an Eichel means it's like a palace. The Tiferet Adam, the glory of a human being is when he has a house, when he has the Gemara says Kol Shein like by saying that Tiferet Adam Hashavas boys, the glory of a human being is when he has a house, because he's not open to everybody. So what does it mean? So one thing, nobody can see him. On number 2, it limits also how far he can go. If he's in a room, he can only go as far as the room allows him. He can go outside of the room. So that function of the Eichel limits. It hides everybody. He's using a few aspects of the Eichel, of what the Eichel is. Like I said, so number 1, l'chasa l'asna mashu b'seich ha'echel, hides what's within the echel. Ha'echel maglu zeh mashtus rak b'fkam shel echel. So that's one function of the echel. Another thing, the inin echel l'chasa l'adam she'adam misalam b'echel, which is the same thing. It's the same point that it hides the Adam. Adam is salvageable. He's limit. Like I said, he lives within his room, within his house, within his palace, and that limits his expression. That outside people can see him. Then there's another point. Another point that the Eichel does is it doesn't allow the sun and the elements to reach him from the outside. So it's like two. He gave us a few details of what the house, what it does to the person. Number one is it hides the person, it limits the person. It also allows a person. It also blocks the influence of the outside elements on the person. Like it says, the light of the sun does not reach the house the way it is outside. It means it limits both. It limits his effect and the outside, limits the effect of the outside in him. So the last point, which is a little funny because it's obvious. It's an obvious thing, but it means that Allah to prove it. So Allah to prove She'er Hashem She'ena Meir Beichel Kamar says in Gilchus Dikas Chomet Rachin Achsada Lo'oyo Nidek Socha Meir Shem Hashem She'em Bebayis. So it's not only Allah when it's Dikas Chomet the house. I don't mean we did the Chomet in a house, in a regular house. The candle Lo'oyo Ner. But it's a Chomet Lo'oyo Ner. But Achsada, which is like the what do you call it? We call it today porch, the yard outside of the house. It doesn't need a candle. You can use the light of the sun. Because the sun shines over there. There's no need for a candle. But the house, even in daytime, the sun doesn't reach there as much as it's outside. But mainly, you need to wait for the night and use a candle. So we see in this Chazal, in this halacha, how one of the unique parts of a house is that it blocks the sun. Like it's an interesting dogma from halacha to put this point that the function of a bayis, of a heichel, is to prevent the shemesh from reaching every detail of the house. But this is what we know. These are the few aspects of the eichel, the way they are in the physical eichel. What is the name? What's the name? In the eichel, the inner eichel, what is the eichel? What Chazal say? What's happening in the eichel, in the mile, in the eichel, in the upper world, in the roof of the world, the big see you have eichel there. What's going on over there? Number one, that's a place where the Ma'amad of Matzah means the position. That's what the neshamas are there. The Gemara says, "Tzadikim yeshrim nenim iziv hashchina." So the neshamas are within the eicholos, and they enjoy the right pleasure from the ray of the Shechina. That's one thing that happens in the eicholos. This is what we know for Chazal, that the neshamas and nenim iziv hashchina, the malachim. So Hashem ba'av v'yir. The malachim of the camp of Michal, they are right at Av. Gabriel is here. Ma'amodamu, where all these malachim and neshamas, but beicholos. They are within the eicholos, which means sha'eichel ben saklal shekoil kol madrigas alon. So now he uses another aspect of what the heichel is. The heichel is like a hole. The hole contains within it all the residents, so to speak, all the ones that dwell in that hole. So the heichel is l'mayla. They contain within them all these machne gavriel, machne michol. The machne michol contain the heichel where the machnes are contains all the various madrigas that are within machne michol. The machne michol yesh kupe elef machne. It says in this forum that machne michol, it says in Hazal, machne michol has this particular number, 186,000 machnes. What does it mean? Shein madrigas part is chol gizbar. What's shaykh machnes in spiritual beings? In physical beings, what differentiates when you have to say you had a lot of people, a lot of objects? What makes them different? Each one takes up its own space. What is the concept of space in Ruchnis, Malach? What does it mean? 100,000 Malach. What does it mean? One Malach and the other. So the pshat is that each Malach is a different level in Ruchni. If it's two Malach are the same, so that's one Malach, it's not two Malach. What differentiates them? In the physical world, we have two boxes, two books. What differentiates one from the other? The space. This takes up that space, and the other part takes up another part, another space. But
also the content.
No, I'm saying let's say the same book.
Oh.
Two sidurim, right?
Oh, okay.
What's the difference between two sidurim? The difference is this takes up this space and this takes up that space. That makes them different. But in Ruchnis, there's nothing as space. So if the two malachim will be if they are the same spiritual level, so they are one. There's nothing that makes them two. The concept of two doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense in Ruchnis. The Meile, when you say two, means two levels. It's not like you say, different content, right? In Ruchnis, the only thing that differentiates one Ruchnis state from the other is its content. Not because it's being, there's no such thing. There's no space, right? So Mokem L'mayla, like that, the Rambam said, say that there. Mokem L'mayla means madrega. So when they say Kupa madregas parties, there's all these 186,000 madregas. A madregas party, look at we say that there's such a huge number of malachim that so the that means that this amount of levels in Ava. Or it means hopefully, I don't know what it means exactly, but no, like there's an interesting thing in the Marcus. It says in Agod, Alayom Lokum Masai Mechamishim. What does it mean exactly? There's a sefer. The Rebbe Sefer in Agod. The sefer describes what are the 250 markers. What exactly is it? It's not just a number. A number means that it's still different markers. I'm just giving it some example. So there's a special sefer and there's a sefer who figured out how to explain what are the 250 various markers. It's obviously easier than our challenge here, but it's similar in a way that we just throw a number, but it means something. Same thing here. We say a number, 186,000 malach. Let's make this cool. It means that there's madrigas and avok. What they are, I don't know. The point that he's making here now, another point that Echel is safe.
Right?
Sorry, what?
This is in Biyah, not in Olam.
Yeah, of course in Biyah. The Malachim are not in Biyah. Malachim are not Matzilus. He's some Malach Matzilus. The Malachim are in Biyah.
So there's no Echolois in Atzilus?
Oh, so later he says that there is a Echolois Matzilus. Okay, that's the problem here. First he talks on one, there is a concept of Echolois Matzilus also. Right now we're not talking about it, which is like a more detailed, what is it, right? I think. Yeah, that says in something in the Yasa Kodesh, there's a concept of Echol Mitzilus also. It's a different Echolis. It's not the Echolis he's talking about here. Here he's talking the Echolis of the way they're in Biyah. There is also a concept of Echolus Natzilus, which is more subtle. But generally speaking, this entire Maimah is based on the premise that Natzilus is Esospheres and the Biyah of Zayin Echolus. So Echolus, generally speaking, Echolus are in Biyah. So there is you're right, there is sometimes, I can't say Echolus Shabbat, but it's like Biyah Shabbat Tzilus. So, it's one of these things that every Madrig is called Madrig the Lord also. But that's just going to confuse us more. So he'll try. Let's see. Okay, I don't know how to explain exactly Echolus Natzilus, but let's think what he's saying here. But now, like I said, he adds a new, in the Mashal, he said a lot of things about Eichel, but this particular part of the Eichel I didn't mention the Mashal. The Mashal, he said that the Eichel protects the person from the elements, it limits him, it makes sure that he's not seen, he's hidden. This is the three aspects of Eichel. He said at the bottom of page Kuf Samach. But here he adds a new thing to Eichel. Eichel is, like he said now, Eichel kol madrigas out in the clothes. And another point that Eichel means, another mashal of Eichel. Eichel is a located place. You can have let's say in the mush, a lot of objects in the Eichel, a lot of people, a lot of anything. And they're all contained within the Eichel. So Eichel is a mashal for something that contains a lot of details. Eichel it says Eichel kol madrigas out in the clothes. V'chein Eichel you spoke about Avos, it's similar as also here. All of them, all the madrigas in Ava, in Ira, Makablim, Oyer, Masagos, they all get there, going back to what we speak about here, the Malachim. He mentioned the Shamas before, but he didn't go in it. He wouldn't elaborate. He spoke more of the Malachim. The Malachim, then the Shamas, then the Eichel, all of them get their godly energy from the Eichel. That's number one. And then it goes back to the Mosh. But Eichel minimum master, but the Eichel he hides them. Kamoya Eichel Agash Shemadim al Adam Sheina Meir Kanal. Matanechos Malim Masha Besechel Malim al Avagil. So really, like I said earlier, there's two aspects here, but he doesn't go into the details. Just like in the physical Eichel, the Eichel limits the light that comes into the Eichel, and also limits the light, limits the ability of the person within the Eichel to express himself, right? So there are two aspects. So the same thing is also, similarly, it's in the Eichel as the Maya. Number one, Malim Masha B'Seichel, Malim L'Lavagil. They hide what's within them. I think it's two different things. It says in the Moshe. He doesn't elaborate how it works in the Nimshul. So basically, what he's saying here that the Heichal limits. Let's talk about, let's say, the Neshamis, the Malachim that are in the Eichel. Number one, because they're within the Eichel, so there's a limit how much oil they get because they're within the Eichel. And also there's a limit how much oil they can express because they're within the Eichel. That's the point is made. We're still in the middle of discussion. Let's see. So we have to understand, how does the Eichel have these qualities? Number one, the new quality added now in the Nimshul, that it's koil kulam, it contains a lot of madrigas within it, and it hides also. That's the aspect of hiding. So to bring that in Arinian knows, it brings in a new discussion. The in a noida the Eichel is shosha prestigul. So it brings in the sugya of Igulim B'Yosha, like I mentioned already, that the first Ma'amshach in this Sefer also started talking about La'ovin Igulim B'Yosha. But if I remember correctly, he never fully came back to that aspect. Also, that's what the Hemshech of Rosh Hashanah. Now, also the Hemshech of Shavuot, we just finished learning, and also this to my mom we're learning now, talks about Toyu and Tikkun. So also it's spoke about that Toyu is Igulim and Tikkun is Yesha. So he constantly brings in the concept of Igulim and Yesha. So, and now Maimah also brings in the Eichel is compared to Igulim. The Eichel is Shosh of Igulim. Which calls the Ras HaKodesh, says in the Ras HaKodesh, Siman Chof, the Lashon Shabahen, talks about the Eichel over there, Shabahen Mislapshin Igulim that what gives life, what creates, what do you call it, sustains the Echolos, the Gulim of this field. What Madrigan of this the Gulim that. The Noida, then he brings in another point we learned by Riches in the Max, and there was a Maimon Samachay, we learned about it, the Gulim Yeshem Nefesh Ruach Katnus V'Gadnus. The Gulim, it's a question he asked over there, that the Gulim Yeshem, Pashtas, the Gulim is higher than Yeshem. Gulim is Makiv, Yeshem is Pnimi, like we learned before that. Yeshem means, like in other languages, Pnimi, Mamala, it's something with Yerach HaMakav. Yeshem is a straight line. So this descends on the top to bottom, and it goes the lower it goes, it's weaker, it's more with Yerach HaMakav. Yigulim is circle, there's no top and bottom, there's no mila or mato. For Mela, it's all equal. So it's higher. So Pashtas Yigulim is higher than Yesh. It says in Kabbalah, an interesting point, that Nefesh V'Ruach. That Yigulim is Nefesh and Yesh is Ruach. Pakel, the Nefesh is a little below Ruach. When you said the Madrigas and the Shaman, Nefesh, Ruach, and the Shaman, Nefesh is the lowest Madriga, Ruach, and middle Madriga, and the Shaman is higher. So Ruach is higher than Nefesh. We talk about the Gunim Yesh, says Kabbalah, that the Gunim is Nefesh, and Yesh is Ruach. That was we had the whole Maimon Samachay asked the question. And what was the answer? Katnus V'Gadlus, not the way to say this. What does it say? Katnus V'Gadlus. That the Gulim is Katnus, the Yesh is Gadlus. The way he answered the Maimon Samachay, and that is going to say, because the Gulim is so high, so you feel it in a more diminished way. So the way we feel it, we only feel Nefesh. The Gulim cannot reach us. It's above us. So what we have only the aspect of the Gulim, the Nefesh. That's when we have higher Madrig. That's the general answer. I forgot the Ramasol that we learned in that Maimah over there in Samachay. But here he's going to discuss it from a different direction. So the first statement he made was that the Choles come from Igulim, which we know also from the other Maimah, like Maimah. It's Mashachanukos that Bais, Eichel and Bais is Maki from Igulim. So let's see what here it says. Makes another point. So now to explain the concept of Igulim Yesha, the way it is in Eichel, he brings in the new marshal of Rav Town. The two stages in the Ashpa of the Rav Town. The way the teacher teaches the student, there are two stages. Tchilas Ashpa, the beginning of the state of the Ashpa, of the class, of the teaching process. The seichel of the Rav, the way the teacher understands the subject, is really not internalized by the Talmud, doesn't penetrate his mind. It's only makif, it surrounds him. The seichel nishma, because that seichel that the teacher expresses, it's above. It's way above the capacity of the student. It only surrounds him. It doesn't penetrate him. What happens is that the seichel talmid is surrounded to the seichel nishma. But then in the later stage, when the Talmud actually, when the student grasps and understands the concept he was taught by the teacher, what happens then? Oh, Seichel Talmud Makif is Seichel Nishpa. So again, the word Makif here, I mentioned the first time along. The word Makif here, the Chayra, not the same exact definition as the first Makif. In the first Makif, when you say Makif, the Seichel Makif means it doesn't penetrate, it surrounds him. It doesn't fully, it's not internalized. When you say the Seichel Talmud is Makif, the Seichel means something else. Makif means it has full control over it. He's using the same lashon Makif for both, but it's not exactly. I mean, it can be used like in both things, but it's different definition of Makif. Okay, let's see what it says further. In Makif or Mokaf now, the reason for that, for what we just described, that first it's Makif, first the Seichel Arav is Makif, then becomes Mokaf on Seichel Talmud. It's not only because the idea is too deep, or because the student is not smart enough. Because we talk in the situation that the teacher is a good teacher, and he really expresses the idea in a way that the student can relate to it. The fact is that in the beginning of the process, the student is not yet ready to grasp the full meaning of the idea. It doesn't stand at the full depth to really grasp all the various parts of the idea, to understand each individual svar within the sugya, each svar, to understand each individual svar, and also how each detail adds to the general concept. How that particular detail adds to the general concept. And how to each detail you really understand the general concept. He calls the the beginning of the process of studying, he doesn't know all these details. All right, it's a long class. We can restart tomorrow. This is Marshall of R'Dovid Olidort.
Very nice.